Hi guys, we are in week 12, so welcome back. We are going to continue with analyzing Tim Burton's films. So, as you see on our announcements, I've got 4 film clips here from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, one of Tim Burton's films. What you guys are going to do is you're going to watch those clips. Pay attention to cinematic techniques. So you can pick any 5 cinematic techniques that you guys want to explore. So remember last week there was that graphic organizer of a few different cinematic techniques, lighting, shots, angles, and that sort of thing. Pick one of those, 5 of those actually, excuse me, and you're going to fill in this graphic organizer. So I've got the first line filled out just as an example for you. So after I looked at some of those clips, I picked a technique. So in my technique example, I wrote, in the clip from the end of the movie at Charlie's house, it begins with a non-diegetic narrator voiceover, then switches to a diegetic narrator with the person on the screen narrating for us. So you guys will see that if you watch that clip. It starts off with just a voiceover, and then the guy is narrating and we see him talking. So then you're going to tell me what effect that had. So how did that make you feel as the viewer? And I wrote, starting with the non-diegetic narrator makes us feel like someone is reading us a story. It's more cozy. Having the voiceover makes us more feel like we're a part of that family. Then when it switches and shows us the narrator, we feel like more of an observer looking in, like we're not part of the family anymore. It's suddenly more of a story being told to us. So that kind of had a shift in the way we felt as the viewer. I wrote that down as my effect. So you guys are going to go through now and pick more techniques, lighting, shot, angle, whatever you want to do. Pick 5 of them and tell me what technique they had. There's 4 different clips there to choose from, so you have plenty of material to work with there. In Springboard Activity 2.6, you're going to do another graphic organizer here. So let me get there, 2.16. I think I said 2.6. Anyway, you're just going to do the graphic organizer and the check your understanding portion, all right? So make sure you're always paying really close attention to the announcements and just doing what I have on here. We're still going to continue with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and some clips that we have there. There are some definitions there and some of the effects that Tim Burton uses with those techniques. So the first one it says is long shots. Long shots can establish a setting because it's like a big view, so you can see the whole setting. So that kind of shows the viewer where this story is taking place. Then there's medium shots, which can show you like a character's body language. And then the close-up shots really show you the character's emotion. So we see some of those close-up shots a lot with Tim Burton films. There's also the shot reverse shot where they look at one character, then look at the other character, then look at the other character. That hones in on the character so you can get that feel of the conversation happening. And then also there's lighting. So directors often use lighting to create mood, right? We see a lot of dark lighting in Tim Burton's films. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to look at those same 4 clips that I had up at the top of the announcements. You're going to watch them first, or another time, I guess you've already watched them by now. But I want you to watch them without sound, all right? It's going to be a totally different film without the sound. So watch with the sound and just note your observations in that middle column on the graphic organizer. So look at the camera movement, the angles, the shots, the lighting, the setting, the characters, that sort of thing. Then you're going to tell me what your interpretation is. So what can you infer about the intended effect from that observation? I have a typo here I'm going to fix. So you're going to watch pick 1 or 2 of those clips and tell me what you see without the sound. It's going to really help you pay attention to what's going on, and then tell me your interpretation of it. What was the intended effect with that cinematic technique? Then watch it again, but with the sound. So when you watch it with the sound, note your observations again, and then tell me what the effect that they have is. And then optionally there it says you can do a final viewing if you want to do it. By this time you've probably watched the clips 3 or 4 times, so you may not want to do that. That's okay. All right. Now this week we also have a blog. So for the 2.16 blog, just go to our blog page and you're going to answer this question. It says using the notes from your graphic organizer. So you've got a couple graphic organizers that you've completed by this point. Using those notes, write your responses to these questions. So the first question, How does Burton manipulate camera angles and lighting to create his intended effect? So what effect does he have with those camera lighting, the camera angles and the lighting? How does he use sound, both types of sound, diegetic and non-diegetic, to enhance his scenes? And then lastly, why does he use a flashback scene? So there's a flashback scene in there too. What does that accomplish? So answer those 3 questions. You can just give me 1 sentence for each of those in the blog, but make sure you write those answers in the blog, all right? Lastly, we've got Springboard Activity 2.17. So for this one, we've been spending some time with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, one of Tim Burton's films. We're going to switch to another one of his films. So Edward Scissorhands. It was filmed a long time ago, like 1990, I think. But you can still see Tim Burton's very definitive style. So I have got the link to the opening credits of the film there. So you're going to look at just the opening credits, and you are going to fill in this graphic organizer. So while you're looking at the opening credits, I want you to tell me what's happening. What images and shapes do you see? This is in the middle column of your graphic organizer. And then also, what's the music like? So you're just going to describe those things in the middle column of your graphic organizer. Then in the last column of your graphic organizer, you're going to interpret those things. So after seeing those images and shapes and hearing that music, what kind of mood does that set? What kind of tone is that? Remember, mood is how you feel watching it, and tone is how the author or the creator is wanting it to feel, all right? Like what their attitude is on it. And then also make some predictions on what you think the movie is going to be like based on these opening credits, okay? So fill in that graphic organizer after watching that film clip. You can always view these film clips more than once. So if you don't get everything, that's okay. Just go back and look at it again. Then there's another graphic organizer here. When Tim Burton created Edward Scissorhands, he used what's called a frame story. So a frame story is when, well, in this case, in Edward Scissorhands, there's a grandmother telling her granddaughter this story of Edward. So it starts the movie with them talking and then fades into the story, and the story that she's telling her granddaughter is actually the film that we're watching. And then at the end, it comes back to the granddaughter telling her grandma this story. So there's like this frame story happening, but then the movie and the story she's telling her granddaughter is the movie. So you're going to watch this scene where the granddaughter and the grandmother are doing this whole bedtime story routine kind of thing. You're going to write down your observations. So you can use the same observations that you used in the opening credits. What images and shapes do you see? What's the music like? You could write down what's the lighting like. What are the camera angles like? So any cinematic technique you can use for your observations. Then I want you to tell me what your interpretations are. What can you infer or predict based on what you're seeing? So what's this movie going to be like? What's the tone? What's the mood? What themes might there be? What do you think Tim Burton's trying to create? What story do you think he's trying to tell? So write down your interpretations there. All right. Now lastly, you ready for this last thing? Check your understanding. So you can see this check your understanding piece in the Springboard Activity 2.17, or as always, I just have everything you guys need to do in the announcements and assignments. So you are just going to complete the following statement. So there's the little blanks that you're going to fill in here. So it says, in the opening sequence, the images, music, and lighting all create a mood of what? You fill in that blank, which makes me think this will be a blank kind of movie. So you're just creating a statement based on what you see in these film clips. And then also it says here, in the frame story sequences, the images, music, and lighting suggest that the story is a bedtime story. How does this suggestion shift the mood? So how does this being a bedtime story kind of create a different mood for us as the viewer? I just want you to write 1 or 2 sentences for that. All right? So as always, let me know if you have any problems or you're struggling with anything. I'm definitely here to help you, and I want to make sure you guys all are successful. So don't hesitate to reach out, and I will see you guys all again next week.